happen. Let's get started here. Thank you all for coming to this session. Admins, you can code too, yay! This session is extra special to me because I sat in on a session like this, which is now quite a long time ago, but it completely changed my life and the entire trajectory of my career. And so hopefully, maybe I can inspire one or two of you to code. Let's see. Before that, I just want to give a big thank you to the whole Your Dreaming staff. They were really gracious to invite me here, and this is my first time in Amsterdam, first time in Europe in 20 years, and it's a big honor. And it's my wife's favorite place, actually, and now I see why. So thank you for having me. I hear a voice that just said my name. I'm either hearing things or someone's trying to talk to me. Okay, I'm going crazy. It's good to know. All right, a little bit about me. So my name is David. I work at Google as a Salesforce technical architect. What that means is I lead our Salesforce deployments. Sometimes deployments that are multi-million dollars, multi-billion dollars of revenue going into our orgs. Very interesting. We have 150 different Salesforce orgs at Google. I've worked on Salesforce for self-driving cars, for Gmail, for Android, for Play. And if I deploy something bad in our org, I can break 2 billion Android phones. So very interesting stuff. I've been very fortunate to win a few awards in my career. And also, I've been doing Salesforce for 10 years, 16 certifications, and Platform Developer 2, which hopefully I have. Otherwise, I could not give this presentation. But while all that is very nice, that's actually not the real me that I want you to get to know today. The real me is a very simple person. I'm a dreamer. I was an accidental admin. I was an email spammer turned admin. I didn't know how to write a single line of code after college. I dreamed about making an impact on my company, being a hero, being that one person that when things get bad, people look for me. I dreamed about learning new technologies. I dreamed about having a career focused on technology and using technology to solve interesting problems. But first and foremost, I actually dreamed of having a stable career and providing for my family. These were all things I dreamed about, but I didn't necessarily know how to achieve. Maybe you are in a similar situation. You want to do the same, but you don't know what steps to take to get there. That said, I took many, many risks in my career, had many, many failures, got extremely lucky many times, and if I look back and I had to do it all over again, the #1 most important thing I ever did in my career was learn to code. So, 7 reasons why I think you should learn to code. First reason, and this one I always have to get out of the way first. You will make more money as a Salesforce developer than as a Salesforce admin. Now, these numbers are US numbers. I did try to find Amsterdam numbers. There are not reliable sources on that. However, pretty much across the board in US and in Europe, if you look at the reliable Salesforce salary data out there, developers consistently make about 30% more than admins. Now, in the US, $140,000 per year base salary as a developer roughly translates to 3 to 4 times the national median salary. So you live quite a decent living as a developer. And in fact, I know Salesforce developers making $300,000 a year want to have Lightning and integrations and custom Uis. I think another reason for this actually is a lot of companies who aren't traditional Salesforce companies, they want to hire Salesforce talent, but they don't know what the difference between an admin and developer is. They just know an admin can only do so much, and then a developer can do theoretically everything. And so they have to go with, they have to go with the safe route and only hire developers. And this is something certainly I see true at Google. I don't think we have any more admin positions open nowadays. We only hire developers for reasons like these. And still today, there are so many features that you have to code in order to do. Two of my favorite ones, building custom Uis. This is probably the most popular thing new orgs on Lightning will do. And also integrations. You will need to code to integrate with most systems, even if you have MuleSoft. Reason 6, this is personally my favorite reason for learning to code, is to become a master of Salesforce. They say there are 3 things people seek to reach fulfillment in their career. First, autonomy, being able to have the freedom to do what you want to do. Salesforce won't necessarily help you with that. The second one, purpose, doing something that you personally believe in. Also, Salesforce maybe will help you, maybe it won't. But the final one is mastery, being able to say, hey, I know this inside out. Now, if you're in the Salesforce world, there's usually maybe 2 paths you want to consider mastering. One is maybe the people and the business aspect. If that's your purpose, then, as an admin, that is a good path to go down. But if you want to master the technology of Salesforce, if that is what your gut is calling you out to do, then you have to learn to code in order to fully understand Salesforce. Also, Salesforce is going to unlock the career paths for you. Most importantly, the certified technical architect, which is what most people consider the peak of Salesforce, the peak of knowledge and enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it. I'm personally on the Salesforce certified technical architect path. If you remember in my failure slide, I have failed 9 out of 9. Thank you for reminding me, Kevin. I failed 9 out of 9 certified technical architect portions. I did pass all the certifications. But what has surprised me is everyone I know who has passed the CTA, Certified Technical Architect, is a good coder. 90% of them, very good coder. And they force it too, at least 4 of the certifications that you have to do, Platform Developer 1, integrations, deployment lifecycle, these require you to code. So many good reasons here to learn. And finally, this one is not my favorite reason, but it's the one I think about the most. Does anyone know what all of these companies have in common? You can shout it out. I'll tell you, they are all dinosaurs. They are once titans of their industry. They were once the Googles or the Salesforces of the world, but now when people look at these brands, they're no longer highly regarded. The reason why I think of this one so much is I feel like we're so lucky to be in the Salesforce world when Salesforce is undeniably the #1 CRM out there. But who knows? Maybe down the line, another company is going to come up and we're no longer going to have all these awesome dreaming and community events because there's going to be no more money in the industry. So the reason why I think about this is learning to code safeguards you against massive changes in the industry. Taking that development knowledge will apply to other coding languages or other CRMs. However, if your knowledge is focused on Process Builder and flows, the moment Salesforce is gone, your knowledge, your specified knowledge is also gone. Oh yeah, also, you do not have to become a full-time developer to take advantage of this. You can be a hybrid. I know a lot of people, they don't see themselves coding 40 hours a week. I actually cannot do that nowadays either. But even just learning a little bit of code or being a hybrid will help you. And this is actually, I think, a Volvo hybrid. I heard these are popular here in Amsterdam. I think you guys are like the capital of like electric cars or something. All right, anyways. Okay, now to answer the real question, this is the one that bugged me the most when I was learning, is can you really learn how to code? With your specific background, your specific stage in life, can you do it even if you want to? Well, first off, I believe if I can do it, anyone can, but I would understand if this was not very convincing. Surprising fact, half of my Salesforce development coworkers at Google do not have formal Salesforce development or any development training. They don't have computer science degrees. They come from English degrees, business degrees. Personally, on my team, 100% of them do not have computer science degrees, including me. Your very own Yan. He used to be a Salesforce admin. He's actually a Your Dreaming organizer. He learned to code, passed platform developer, and he actually literally wrote the book on passing platform developer. So if you don't believe me, at least talk to him and get his thoughts on it. Woo! All right. We have Nick here, a professional poker player, learned to code, passed Platform Dev 1, doubled his salary. We have two people here. Both of them happen to be named John. They're on the older side of things, 50 years old, 60 years old, both from non-development backgrounds. One of them is in nonprofit. One of them was a lifetime sales rep. Both of them learned to code, passed Platform Dev 1, and now I'm sure are making a lot of money. A few sad stories, actually. These both come from India. I've met someone who was literally starving for food. He had to choose between either buying food or paying for Salesforce certifications and Salesforce content. He chose Salesforce content. He got multiple job offers as a Salesforce developer at multinational companies. I met another gentleman, rural business owner in India. On Christmas Day, he literally had to close down his business because they weren't making money. He was sitting at home crying. Someone recommended him to learn Salesforce development, and he got a job as a Salesforce developer, is making a strong salary right now. We have a few more people here. Atul, 40 failed job interviews. He failed 40 times, decided to turn things around, learned Salesforce development. Now he got multiple job offers. Nirav, literally a cashier, no technical background, became a Salesforce development lead. We're going to keep going. Ren, a lady in the Philippines, call center agent, didn't know how to write a lick of code. She learned Salesforce development, trained her entire team of 10 developers to learn to code. Jeremiah, very interesting man, French major in college, also learned to code, became a Salesforce developer at PayPal, a Salesforce MVP. He speaks at Dreamforce now on development topics. Finally, another lady. She considers herself an average girl, didn't know how to code. She taught herself how to code, got 3 developer job offers, doubled her pay. If these things are interesting to you, there are many, many of these type of stories, shameless plug, on my website, sfdc99.com. But you can read these stories. I'm sure someone has a similar background to you, maybe even worse. And they learned to code, and they tell you how to do it, and they had crazy life transformations. All right, let's actually get a little bit technical now. Let's look at some code. This is a Apex trigger. It is a simple trigger, but I guarantee 95% of people, when they look at this, their brain is just gonna shut off. They're gonna be like, you know what? There are all these weird words in here before insert trigger.new. Coding is not for me. I want you, just for the sake of this talk, to turn off that emotion. I want you to suppress the emotion and stay with me. Because when you actually look into this, there's only one line of code that matters, and that's this line right here. Every other line of code here is what we call boilerplate code. Code that has to be there, you copy and paste it every time. It doesn't really mean anything, it's just literally you copy and paste it every time and you forget about it. There's really only one line of business logic here. And if you understand what this line of code is doing, then you're already on your way to code. All this is doing, similar to if you were updating a formula in Salesforce, is this changes your account's name to your dreaming. The fun fact about this, the very first trigger I wrote was just like this. 5 lines of code. I copy and pasted 4 of them. There's only one line here that I have to update. It was instead of updating the account name, it was updating the account owner. And it was the first time I had ever written a trigger. It literally took me 8 hours to write this one line of code that I copy and pasted it anyways. It turns out those are single quotes and not double quotes. And it literally took me 8 hours to figure that out. And I think the reason why this is so interesting to me is like, after 7 hours of looking at this single line of code, I don't think anyone would have blamed me if I called it quits. If I was like, you know what, coding isn't for me, I gave it a shot, it took me 7 hours to do one line of code and I can't do it. I think that would have been acceptable. Like, I could sleep at night for that. But I stuck through it. Through the 8 hours, I deployed that line of code, and had I not decided to put in 8 hours to it, I promise I would not be standing here. I would not have learned to code. I wouldn't have gotten a job at Google. None of that would have happened. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if it takes you a long time to code, don't worry, it took me a long time too. Then once you're comfortable with that one line, then you do a second line of code. We take baby steps. And once you're comfortable with that second line of code, no matter how long it takes, then you start adding more. And eventually, you're going to add so much that you're going to look back and be like, wow, you know, I wrote something that actually works, and I'm proud of it. That's if you stick to it, which I hope you all do. All right, so if you do want to code, how do you start learning from here? Well, a super shameless plug. I have a 15-week learning plan at that link right there. You take it online at your own pace, 5 hours commitment a week. It'd be nice if you could put in more. It's meant for people who have full-time jobs. There's videos, Trailhead, homework. There's a project at the end. Most of the stuff there is free. Some of it is paid, but I don't want you to think that I'm here to make money. If you email me, you can have it all for free. Don't worry about it. And with this course, after week 3, you're going to write a trigger. You're going to write a test class. Then you're going to learn SOQL. Then you're going to learn about bulkification. And then by the end of this course, you're going to be ready to do Platform Dev 1. And when you pass that, that's when your LinkedIn starts exploding with recruiters coming to you. I did a test scenario of this where I did this with a few people, about 8 people, and we went through the 15 weeks together, and they had great success with it. One of them passed PD, Platform Dev 1, shortly after, and she's doing very, very well right now. I will probably do another one with this, and I'll expand it out to everyone, and it'll all be free, so keep an eye out for it. Oh, I just saw that my battery's running low. All right, we're almost at the end. Other things I recommend, if you like watching video content, there's a lot of great video content. Luke Kushinik, he actually helps train for Pep Up Tech right now. He has a bunch of courses on learning to code. I highly recommend looking into that. These are linked on the slides. I'm going to put it in the Slack, by the way. If you like written content, Trailhead, man. Trailhead's so good. And like I said, they're coming out with beginner developer content. I'm working alongside with them on that. And if you like doing things in person, the Rad Coding School, especially if you're a woman, I highly, highly recommend that. I recommend going to the developer user group. Even if you don't know how to write a single line of code, you will meet people there who will inspire you. And finally, my last tip for you is to tackle coding like you tackle any big project in your life. And that is one step at a time, bite-sized pieces. This formula is a formula I think of very often. It says, if you improve yourself just 1% every day, then after a year, you're going to be almost 38 times better. So whether that's learning to code or anything else, I highly recommend that. You can double check the math. I promise you the periods are all in the right spot. It checks out. Thank you, everybody. All right, before we take any questions, I am very curious. Is there a brave soul willing to raise their hand that is going to start learning to code now? Whew. Well, you're going to be glad you raised your hand because I'm giving out t-shirts for people who did boom, boom. Were there any other hands? Ooh, little love over here. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. All right. Let's take some questions. Question. Question, when is Salesforce coming out with a beginner Trailhead? Ooh, that might take a while. I don't know, to be honest. We're not that deep in talks. But they work really fast. Those people at Salesforce work really hard. I'd probably expect it in like a quarter or so. Yeah. Other questions? Right up here.
What's your biggest obstacle you need to take in your career?
What was my biggest obstacle in my career? Technical or non-technical? Technical? Man, there were so many obstacles in my career. In the beginning? Okay, well, I mean, the biggest thing in the beginning, certainly with learning to code, is I didn't believe I could do it. Because, you know, my major was in business. I didn't know how to write any code. And I talked about this in my earlier session, but I met a gentleman named Jason Venable, randomly at Dreamforce. He came from a similar background, and he told me, he's like, David, look, if you spend your time learning to code, you can really do it. And, you know, I believed him 100%. I spent the next year learning to code, and it worked out. So yeah, just believing I could do it was a big one, which is why I like focusing on that. It's a nice message. Other questions? Right here.
Have to follow up each new releases, new companies that Salesforce buy, because it's too many every year. And as a developer, you're not able just to follow everything. And be professional, you know, with large amount of.
Yeah. So how do you keep up with Salesforce, even though it's growing so quickly?
Every year they make more stuff.
Yeah. Salesforce just gets bigger and bigger every year. How do you actually keep up? You don't. Honestly, I don't even read Salesforce release notes. I think they're quite dry. I do it when I have to do I do it when I have to pass a certification. No, I mean, I agree. There's only so many things in life you can do, you know? Like, I like spending time with my kids. Like, I like doing my website. Like, I can't do everything. So, like, I specifically cut things out, and release notes are one of them. I think accepting that you cannot do everything in Salesforce is like, that's like the path to enlightenment. I think someone once said that during a Dreamforce keynote, Jennifer Wobser, and that's always stuck with me. Yeah. All right, all right, computer died. All right, any other questions? Really, no questions? Going once, going twice. Thank you, everyone. I'll be around if you have questions.